record this. Okay, we are officially recording. This is the branch impact call. Tonight we're going to be showcasing our top performers. We have many top performing branch managers that are going to be sharing a bit about what they're doing in their office. We also have a top performing district manager who has been featured on many prior branch calls. He's been a great branch before, so he knows what it's like to be a branch. We're really excited to have such high caliber people speaking on tonight's call. Just so all of you know, again, the schedule for all the upcoming calls is in the Branch Impact Facebook page. So if you are not part of that Facebook page, please go ahead and request to be added to it. Normally, I really police who's coming in and out of that group in terms of whether or not you're a branch, but at this point, I just want everybody to gain access to these calls. So just go ahead and add yourself to the group, even if you're a new district manager, doesn't matter. Just go ahead and search Branch Impact Group 2020, I think it is, on Facebook, or 2020 Branch Impact Group, and add yourself to it. Then you can get access to all of the calls and the calendar of the upcoming calls. On the Facebook group, you will see that the calls are listed for 4 p.m. or I think 10 a.m. We've moved that to 8 p.m. at night Eastern time. That way more of you can join us. All right, let's get started, everybody. So tonight, again, you're going to be hearing from some top performing branch managers. And I'm really excited about all the different types of voices that we're going to have emerge into tonight's call. I'm going to go ahead and introduce everybody that we have on this call. We have Samantha Strange. She had a 7K first week open. And this week, she actually made it to the national report with a 13K week. So we're super excited to learn from Sam. She runs the Fredericksburg branch office in the Virginia division in the Eastern region. Then we have Taylor Cady, who had a 10K first week open, and he jumped again this week to a 14K second week open. So 2 weeks over 10K. He runs the Fort Destin office in the Florida Atlantic division in the Eastern region. Then we have Joseph Koss. He is not a branch manager. He is a district manager. But the reason why I asked him to be on this call is because, one, he ran a stellar branch office a few years ago, but two, he's had 2 back-to-back weeks over $30,000. And I know that he's going to be able to bring a level of seniority into this group that we might not have otherwise, and really share some of the things that he's doing to have these big new business weeks. He runs the Richmond district office in the Eastern region in the Virginia division. Then we have Miss Vera Andreeva, who is a first-time branch manager. Her first week open, she did 10K. Then she followed up with another 14K week. So 2 weeks over 10K. She runs the Blacksburg branch office in the Virginia division in the Eastern region. I don't mean to be putting so much highlight on the Virginia division, but they were just popping off left and right, so I had to give them some spotlight here. We have Alex Carrasco. She has done 2 weeks now over 20K. She was #1 in the nation last week, was in the top 5 again this week, had another 20K week this week. And she's running the, I'm going to butcher this name. Alex, you're going to help me out here. The Humacao branch office in mighty Puerto Rico in the Florida Caribbean division in the Eastern region. Then we have Christina Fernandez, 2 back-to-back weeks over 10K. She's been popping off with recruiting, so I know we're going to see her hit 20K very, very soon. She also is from the mighty island of Puerto Rico. She runs the Ponce office in Puerto Rico in the Florida Caribbean division in the Eastern region. And then we have a Southwest branch manager representing Mr. Austin Mailman. I don't know if I pronounced that last name correctly, so Austin, you're going to correct me on that one. He had 11K first week and developed his first 10K fast starter while also finishing school, finishing finals, handling all of that as well. So we're going to hear again from a myriad of different voices. The way that we're going to do this call tonight is I'm going to have each of them open up with a brief introduction and one big tip. And so for all of you panelists out there, the question is, what's working well for you right now? And I ask this question because it can open up the door to so many different answers. Maybe what's working well for you right now is social media jumpstart, and you can give us a tip on that. Maybe what's working well for you right now is that you're able to find a balance between getting enough sleep, but also being super productive, and you can give a tip on that. Maybe what's working right now, really well right now, is that you're getting a really big pop from training, and you can touch on that. So when I ask you the question, what's working well right now, feel free to go in any direction, but that's where we're gonna start. Then from there, through their answers, I'm going to generate questions, but I also want you all to use the Zoom group chat to ask questions as well. So let's say Sam brings up the fact that what's working really well for her is that she's able to juggle school and running the office right now. Sam, I have no idea if that's the case. You might be like, oh, no way is that the case. That's okay as well. But if all of you out there hear that and you're like, oh my gosh, I got a question for Sam, I want you to write the question in the Zoom group chat, because after everybody does their introductions, then we're just going to roll with it. I'm going to be asking questions, but we're also going to be asking questions that come in the Zoom group chat. I haven't really prepped any of these speakers because I really want things to come off raw and real and authentic. And some of them might be like, I wish you prepped us, Shelby. I am nervous as hell. That's okay. One of the beautiful things about the branch manager experience is that oftentimes you're put on the spot and you have to figure it out. So all that to be said, I'm going to call on you and you're going to go ahead and introduce yourself. Joseph, I'm going to let you go first and set the tone for the group. So please introduce yourself and give us one tip on what's working well right now.
So awesome. Thanks, Shelby. So yeah, I'm Joseph Goss, district manager in West Richmond, Virginia. In terms of what's working really well for me, definitely morning routine has been a big part of the success, right? And being over, breaking record in April for new business, and on track to do over $200,000 in new business this month. Same program, same everything, right? Brian Herman training, all that stuff. But I would definitely say number one is just setting, especially during quarantine with everything's being crazy, uncertain, having a very strict morning routine and daily focus that I do on every day to make sure I show up the best way for my people.
All right, I love it. So again, guys, if you hear something that you like from the intros and you've got a question, awesome, Julian, we will definitely get to that. We'll have Joseph share what his morning routine is after we go through everybody else. Next up is Miss Samantha Strange. Go ahead, Sam.
Hi there. Well, first thing, Julia, Joseph's morning routine consists of waking up at 4:30 in the morning. So good luck with that. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam Strange. I actually started this past summer in Joseph's office. I just graduated high school when I started, was recommended the job by a friend. I made it very clear to the start to Joseph and Brian that, branching was the goal for next summer. As much as I loved working with Joseph, I knew that I wanted to, be the primary manager. So I went through TLA this past year, and now I'm the branch in Fredericksburg. Something that's working for me is something that I noticed that I was struggling with even, the start of this past week was a lack of product conviction with the reps that we're training and starting in their fast start. Because we don't have that cutting clinic, there's, that feeling of, oh, maybe I'm doing something to my friends and family, not for them. So something that I think is starting to work is I'm having them figure out which friends or family already has Cutco and encouraging them to go and use it so they can start to get that conviction, start to have that belief in the product. Something else is that, I've noticed that the weeks are going really quickly. Like it's Thursday and then it's Wednesday night. So something that, I've noticed is that instead of relying on that pop from my new fast starters that are launching out of training on Friday night, something that I'm focused on is having already a solid foundation going in to Thursday from the reps that I already have. So that first weekend pop is almost like an add-on to what we already have.
Love that. Thank you very much. Again, ask some questions in the group chat if you have any. Okay, Taylor, you're up next.
All right. Hello, my name is Taylor Katie. I'm on the Panhandle, Destin, and I'm a two-time branch. So I started in June of 2018. I didn't have the summer that I wanted last year. I was actually extremely disappointed. And I really just grinded to make sure that I was intentional this year. So been really happy about that. I'd say the number one tip would be, and I actually got it from Trent Booth, who I love, and it's manufacturing real life into Zoom. So how can you hold your people accountable? How can you create the same energy, the same experience, just the same sales culture? How can you do that and manufacture that? And that's really what I think I've captured and got from my team, is just bringing the energy every single day. And that would be my number one tip and what's working for me.
Love that. That's really great. All right, up next is Miss Vera.
Hello. So my name is Vera. I started with the company when I graduated high school, so 2 years ago. And I'm from Mr. Hellman's office, so I was like selling the first summer and I am the second summer. Now I'm branching for the first time, so it's really exciting. And I would say my biggest tip that I've been doing for my kids is painting vision. So I always talk to them about like, hey, what do you want out of the job? Hey, what are your goals? And then I ask them about what their fast start goal is. Tell them like the prize that they're winning at that level. Get them excited about it. Tell them how many demos they need to complete to hit that goal. And I talk about future opportunities with them. I talk about like what they see themselves doing in the future. And I have them tell me how the experience they're getting now will benefit them in the future. So I'm getting them tied in to working here long term.
That's awesome. That's really good to hear. Alex, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Alex. I don't really have a voice right now, so bear with me. I started in 2018, same as Vera, right when I graduated high school, but I started really late in the summer. So I was selling, but I wouldn't say it was like a selling summer. But anyway, I was in AM last summer. Now I'm branching, and I think that to answer the question of like what's working for me, I feel like there's multiple answers that I could give, but I think that something really important for me right now is like time management and also my mentality. So I feel like I worked, and I'm guessing like a lot of people on this call worked a lot on themselves during the spring. And I think that just like implementing the things that I worked on and just like keeping myself in check so that I can better like serve my people and just time management. So generally, I think that would be like my biggest tip.
Okay, great. Can you dive a little bit more into depth with what you mean when you say mentality and time management? Those are great buzzwords, but I want to dive a little deeper.
Yeah, so like with time management, I think that what I mean is like finding kind of a groove that works for you, right? And like you don't, I mean, like for example, this is, and not to like, I don't know, I don't want this to sound mean, but like when Kos mentioned like his morning routine, for example, like I know that I'm a person that I don't necessarily need like 2 hours in the morning to prep my day. Like I just want to go, like I just want to wake up and go. So like, you know, being like, I think that's like a really big example. And then just like finding, I mean, something that I've been doing is like finding little pockets of time to PR call. Like you always want to be driving demos or driving recruiting. So like you want to be able to like find time in between your interviews and stuff to still be productive and still like get things moving. And then also just like taking time to take care for yourself too. Like I have a thing where like after, like for example, once I'm done with the day, like I almost always talk to Marley or like a friend to just kind of like, you know, like I'm done with the day, like I'm gonna relax, like, and then so I don't know, finding time to do that. And I've also been finding a lot of time to journal, and like I think it's really important too to like write down, sorry, I don't want to like go off on tangents, I feel like I could talk about this forever, but like for example, with time management, like I will wake up and write everything down in my journal that I need to get done or like I think that I need to do. And then I kind of like sort things into like, okay, what needs to get done like right now, like before like midday, say, and then like what can I get done later in the day? And then what can I push to tomorrow or like even maybe like next week or like, and in terms of like my team, like who do I need to talk to today or like who like, and what do I need to promote for these people, and just kind of like organizing, like even in your head, like what you have to do, because I feel like I'm the least productive when I'm kind of like trying to do everything, and like I have to PR call and I have to do this, and like you don't know exactly, you need to like focus on like what's in front of you, and like just like do that. I don't know how to explain it.
That was good. That was good. Thank you. All right, Christina, hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So, hi everyone. My name is Christina Fernandez. I started with the company on 2017. So I was a rep first, then an AM. Yeah, I was like a DOM my second summer, and then I branched last summer. So this is my second time branch, and I am so excited to take it to the next level. So basically,
you just taking it?
I feel yeah, someone needs to mute themselves. So basically, my two strengths, or what's working for me right now during the summer, have definitely been just like my energy and my recruiting. So what I mean by energy is that last summer, I really did not take care of myself at all. So I would go hours without eating. I would not exercise. I would just be so focused on like the office that I wouldn't take care of myself. And I thought that was just like what had to happen, because if I was pouring time into myself, I felt unproductive. But I got so worn out so quickly. So one of the things that have been working for me this summer is just focusing on getting those workouts in, you know, actually pouring into myself so that I can pour into others. And what I mean by recruiting is that I'm currently in school and I won't be done until like June. So it's been hell for me. So something that has been really helpful is just relying on my SMRAs. I have 7 SMRAs in the moment. And one of my strengths with them is just like our staff set total. I'm still getting my fire number, but I do get usually between 100 and 150 set every single cycle, helping because of my staff. So that's been something that's been helping me have very big numbers for training, which means like very big first weekend pops. So I feel like those are the two things. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Austin. I know you jumped on a little bit late. We got the time difference messed up here. Everyone is just introducing themselves and giving 1 or 2 tips on what's working well for them right now.
Awesome. So can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. So one thing that I've been doing that's been working really well for me is compartmentalizing my life. And my name's Austin, by the way. I started with the company last March, and my first summer as an assistant manager, I sold about $30,000 of Cutco. And then this year kind of got a turn to kind of take into a more management role and more hands-on role. So something that's been working a lot for me is just compartmentalizing my life. And when I'm PR calling, I'm giving it my R and I'm PR calling. I'm not worrying about my number set for training. I'm not worried about what my team sales are at. But then when I have my administrative time and I'm looking at like, okay, what can I get my team to for the week? Like, what do I need to do to get this person over $1,000 for the week on the newsletter? What do I need to do to get this person to at least hit an order for the week if they haven't been very active or something like that? So just whatever I'm working on, making sure that I'm really diving in and giving it 125% instead of trying to concern myself with all the million other things that are going on in life right now, because that's kind of life. There's always a million different things going on. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Austin. Okay, so everyone on the call, you've officially heard from all the panelists. I love seeing the questions that are coming through the Zoom group chat. I've started to take note of those questions. I've also been listening as everyone's been sharing, and there are a few different themes that we're going to go through in terms of a conversation here. So the first theme that I'm hearing a lot of has a lot to do with scheduling and like morning routines to give yourself ample energy. So let's start there, and then we're going to move into how to work with a SMRA team, for example. So I know SMRAs, by the way, is an Eastern region term. For those of you that aren't familiar, it's social media recruiting assistant. So Christina mentioned having 7 SMRAs. She'll share with you what that exactly looks like, how she got those people on board, and how she's been consistently setting 100 to 150 PRs every week, which is a huge, huge number. Then we'll move into sales management and We'll talk to Taylor and Vera about, creating that culture and creating that vision. And we'll talk to Sam about creating that product conviction. So let's start off with the scheduling, energy management side of things. So Joseph, you had the first question here. Can you share with us about your morning routine and a little bit about just the way that you attack the day? Because I know you are a special case full of energy. And I mean that in the perfect way possible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just posted it in here in the chat. I have it written out. So you want me to, I'll just walk y'all through it and what it does for me and what my intentions are.
And walk us through it in like 3 to 4 minutes.
Okay. Oh, that's more than enough time.
Perfect.
Perfect. So yeah, I mean, it's simple. I mean, you guys can copy it and play around with it. I've done times in my life when I didn't have a morning routine and I kicked ass like Alejandra, like saying like, just wake up and get after it. And that's what I did. This is my 6th summer with Vector, right? I started 5.5 years ago. So first, 5 summers, I was just wake up, kick ass, wake up, get after it. And now that I'm leading a bigger team and I have branches and I have, a staff, like it's very important that I show up in a more powerful CEO way. So that's why this is very important to me. This has been a game changer for me, this past 4 or 5 months. So, wake up, lasagna affirmations. I'll talk about that here in a minute. Wake up, I typically will wake up depending on the day between 4:30 to 5:30 a.m. most days. Sundays I'm up between 6:30 and 7:30 a.m. Saturday I'm up, 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. Same thing. First thing I do is I always keep like a blender bottle of just cold water. And it's like by the time I wake up, it's not as cold, but I chug that first thing as I wake up. I get out of bed. If you're having trouble with getting out of bed, I learned this from I believe it was the CEO of Spanx. And what I do is I do like a countdown, kind of like a rocket ship. It's kind of weird, but it works for me. And I just count myself down, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and then I just get out of bed, right? Chug it. I seek movement, so I just move around. I've done the push-up thing and squat thing or whatever. I just move around, get blood flowing. Sometimes if I really need an extra boost, I would just chug a cup of black coffee from my Keurig. Then I get dressed. Typically, I work out Monday through Friday in the mornings. And I have a gym I will go to in the mornings. That's part of the wrestling team I train with. So, and then before I leave, I'll always write down my goals, right? So I take about 5 to 10 minutes to just write down my goals in I am statements. So it's like, hey, I am a billionaire. I am a Silver Cup winning manager. I am a Rolex winning manager. I own a blacked out Lamborghini, right? Just any goal, right? It could be, I own $500 million in real estate. Just gets me thinking bigger and gets me excited for the day and to grow. Then I do lasagna affirmations. So you guys might have heard a different phrase for it. You can call it layered affirmations. After I write down my goals, I write down what I'm grateful for. So I typically will write down, 5 to 10 things that I'm grateful for, right? I'm grateful for Sam Strange. I'm grateful for Shelby. I'm grateful for my apartment. I'm grateful for my car, whatever. Just anything that I'm very grateful for. And then I repeat out loud to myself and I affirm them and I layer them. And I'm like, hey, I, Joseph Koss, am grateful that I have amazing development like Sam and Juan. I, Joseph Koss, am grateful that I, have a beautiful car, a beautiful apartment, whatever. And I'll say all the things I'm grateful for. And then I'll transition immediately after to any goal that I wrote down for that 3 to 5 minutes. I'll repeat that out loud. And I, Joseph Koss, am grateful that I am now a Silver Cup winning manager. I, Joseph Koss, am grateful that I own $500 million in real estate. Whatever my goals are, and I just repeat those out loud, and I layer them. So I practice gratitude, and then I, again, attract all these goals into my life, and I'll talk about sales goals or whatever. Anything that gets you fired up is what I'll go over. Then I write down my intentions for the day, like who I want to be. I want to be a person of patience. I want to be a person of love, whatever. Then I'll go typically my gym is about 25 minutes away from my place where I live. So I'll listen to an audio on the way, or I'll send out some gratitude texts or messages. Then I work out for 45 to 70 minutes, stretch, come back. And I typically am like back at my apartment by like 7 a.m. 7:15. So no one's bothering me. So then when I get back, I still have like another 45 minutes or so of just me time to where I can just collect my thoughts. I can sit down and journal more if I need to, really review my day, send out some PDI texts or whatever. Then by the time 8:30, 9 a.m. rolls around and PDI is coming in, I'm running Champions Club. I've already accomplished so much of the day, so I already have this mental edge. So that's my morning routine. And the audio, I typically listen to 15 to 20 minutes of a positive audio like Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone, something. I'll listen to Barbell Shrug, whatever, just something that's informative and that just gets me fired up for the day.
Thank you for sharing that. I do want to make one quick comment and kind of echoing what Alex said. You don't have to wake up at 4:30 a.m. to have a really powerful morning routine. I think that's important that we acknowledge that. It's also amazing if you can and if you choose to, but know that you don't have to in order to have a powerful morning routine. But what has to happen with your morning routine is there has to be intentionality behind it. Alex, did you want to say something?
Yeah, to your point, I think that, and I don't know, maybe some people can relate to this, but I used to want to have a really long morning routine and have my whole miracle morning. And what would happen is that if I didn't if something didn't go exactly like I wanted it to, since I'm such a perfectionist, in my morning routine, that would already be okay, so my morning routine wasn't good. And then I already had the mentality of my whole day is not going to be good. And so that's why I found that a shorter, just shorter things to do in the morning worked more for me, because it didn't allow for so much time to overthink. I don't know if people on this call are overthinkers like me, but doing a shorter routine and just shorter things to do helped me reduce the time to overthink and be I don't know. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you for sharing that, Alex. And I think it just is important to recognize that there are different pathways to success, and it's about what works for you. And so testing some things out is always valuable, because you'll find that something like Joseph's routine might be exactly what you need in your life. And for others, it might be something more like Alex, and there might be someplace in between. So I would say test it out, but here's the beautiful thing. When you add intentionality to your morning, what actually ends up happening is you begin to fall in love with your routine, and therefore it's easier to wake up and meet the day because you know that you have a routine set up. So for example, for me, I spend the first hour of my day without my phone in my hand. And I have come to love doing that. And so waking up an hour before I'm needed anywhere has become so easy for me, because I know now I have an hour of time just to myself. Let's move on to this idea of compartmentalizing and being able to stay present in your tasks. I know right now you might feel like, oh my God, bullets are flying from left and right. How in the world do I run these interviews and also do PR calling and also handle PDI and also. So Austin, I want you to share a little bit about how you do this compartmentalizing. Is it block scheduling? Do you write out to-do lists in the morning, at the night? What is your scheduling routine that you follow?
Yeah, so for me, the big key for me has been one of these, the passion planner. Just getting one of these, it doesn't have to be a passion planner. Google Sheets is a really great option too for tech savvy people. And then I think it comes down to just having trust in you, knowing that, all right, you've scheduled yourself correctly. You've scheduled the right time in your planner, and that you will get done what you need to do when you've set aside the time to do it. And I think all of this compartmentalization just comes down to self-management. And can you stick to what you said you're going to do? When your friends are all hanging out or going to a party or something, and you're supposed to run that late night interview, are you going to run that interview? Are you going to hit your recruiting goals? Or are you instead going to just slack off and not give your team the best that you're supposed to? So I think compartmentalization just comes down. I learned this a lot when I played football all throughout high school. That was 12-hour school days before homework, before going to work. Just breaking down all right, this is where I need to be, and this is what I need to be doing. Now, when you schedule time to hang out with your friends, go hang out with your friends. Get an assistant manager to do PDI for you. If you don't have PDI, or if you don't have an assistant manager, sure, then take your PDI calls, but make sure that you're relaxing and making sure that you're spending time on you, because you can plan that out and you've set that time aside for yourself. to know that you can do that. Now, if you don't do that, then obviously it's a little bit scary to not just take any relax time because you don't know what you're going to be doing tomorrow at 5 p.m. But if you know tomorrow at 5 p.m., I'm running an interview, I don't need to worry about that. Then it makes it super valuable to just trust in yourself and know that you are the manager that you are and that you can do whatever you set out to do and that you don't need to worry about whatever you're doing all the time. You don't need to worry about everything. Just worry about one thing and give it your 100%.
That's great. Thank you so much, Austin. Those are really, really great points. And I want to echo one quick thing that you shared, Austin. Then I want to go over to Christina, who I know has gone through a really personal transformation about putting yourself first. But Austin, you mentioned, scheduling time for your friends. Guys, you can schedule time to spend with family, to spend with friends, to go on walks. No one's going to yell at you for doing that. But the thing is if you don't do it, what's going to end up happening is you end up hitting a wall where now you throw everything up in the air and you're like, I've got to do it. And then you neglect everything that's on your plate. So when you plan for it, you can make sure that you're planning around it as opposed to getting to a burnt out space where you just have to throw everything in the air and neglect things in order to put yourself first. So Christina, on that note, I know, you've experienced this on both ends last summer and now this summer with this new mentality. What is your mentality in terms of putting yourself first this summer?
So I think I shared this in another branch impact call, but I'll share it again because I think it was a very eye-opening moment for me. So I had a conversation with one of my top reps last summer. That's my AM this summer. And he told me that he felt that sometimes I would have taught him more last summer if I would have had more energy. So sometimes I would be like, yeah, we'll meet up at 8 a.m. and I'll teach you this thing to get better, your demo. But when 8 a.m. came through, I was late, I was tired, I could not pour into anyone, literally, physically, emotionally, mentally. And I would just put him a video of someone explaining whatever I wanted to originally explain to him. So when he told me that, I kind of thought I was keeping it cooler than I actually was. I didn't think people were noticing, but people do notice, especially when you're someone very energetic like me. They notice your lows, and they know when you're not putting in your 100%. So basically when they told me that, I made it my number one mission this summer to pour into myself and to give myself space to rest. I delegate a lot. I delegate too much, actually, not too much, but just the right amount whenever I need to get a workout in, or I need some extra time to sleep, or I need to actually have lunch when I want to have lunch. So that has been so powerful for me that I've been present for them. I've been able to pour into them. And I know it sometimes feels like you're a superhuman, especially when you're branching. But it is so easy. You do not have this limited amount of power to run on. And when you crash, it's really, really bad. And my health was affected by that last summer because of the amount of coffee I was drinking. So it was insane. So this summer, whenever you're thinking this is going to pay off, that little sacrifice I'm doing, it's okay to put in the extra hours. I'm not saying be lazy. That's not it. It's just don't confuse laziness with you being unproductive when you're just trying to pour into yourself. It's different. So just learning to know where that line is really important, so that you can be able to just have a productive summer.
And again, it's just scheduling time for yourself. It comes down to be as simple as that, but that's oftentimes what we neglect the most. And I shared this on a branch impact call, our last one, that servant leadership does not mean that you forget about yourself. And what Christina said about being able to bring her best self to her people, if you're constantly pouring out to others, you're actually doing them a disservice, because then you're not giving your best self to them. And that's ultimately what you want to do. because in order for you to have them reach their best self, you have to also be your best self. That's the law of the lid right there. So thank you for sharing that, Christina. Okay, let's pivot and let's talk about recruiting. So we've covered, some of just the basic, very like operational and mindset aspects of performing at a high level. Let's move into the actual tactical skill sets that are going to create these massive sales reports. So I'm looking at some of the numbers here. Christina, we're going to go back to you. Can you share a bit about your SMRA program?
Sure. What part? Hiring, managing, what do you want it?
I know that somebody asked the question, how'd you get 7 SMRAs?
Okay. So that has actually been in the works for months, basically the whole semester. In United, we have a very strong SMRA program. And basically, to keep it short and sweet, right? You have to target people from your top schools and your top networks. And the easiest way we're doing this is through Instagram. So how did I get them is that you need to go to Instagram and literally search like your top schools, your top hangout areas, your top restaurants from your area, and kind of go heavy stalker and find out all the sharp girls. And then like you would make an attack list for your customers, right? So you need to make an attack list for your SMRAs. So basically you put them all in an Excel sheet, and you need to notice, like, first, they don't go in that sheet unless, at least that's our standards, if they'd have less than 1,500 followers, just to make sure they actually, will get us good results with the recruiting aspect. So what we do in Instagram, that it only lets you send 25 messages a day. So I had an RA list of 150 in my attack list, and I would send out messages 3 times a week. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 25 a day until I had enough booked up. You have to be patient because obviously the same as like reps, when you're PR calling, not everyone is going to respond. Basically like the Facebook program would work. But the key with them is that the funnel is a little different. So basically the conversion I was seeing is that like every 25 messages I sent would equal to 1 hire, but that's just me. It's supposed to be every 100 person you have, that's 1 hire. So I had that hire for some reason. So that's something to take note, so that you might need more people in your attack list. And basically the way the funnel works is that first you need to text them, and right when they answer, you basically tell them to give you their number. So you call them immediately, and there's an approach to set them up for an RA interview. So you interview them in like a Zoom interview, and there's like a specific RA interview as well. And the 4th and final stage with the SMRAs is that there's a 2-week trial period. So when you hire them, you need to let them know that you're going to be seeing their results for 2 to 3 weeks. And the best ones will stay being callers. The not as best ones will be sales reps, and some will focus on social media. So the first 2 weeks, they're not even actually calling. They're actually spending the 2 weeks just doing social media. So they would triple threat. They would send one-on-one messages on social media, so they're not actually calling anyone yet for those first 2 weeks. The 3rd week is when I actually get them to call to see their numbers. And some of the girls, I won't even get them to call because I know they're not going to be good, just like because of how they sound. So I'll just transfer them to rep. But the point of the SMRA program is to tap into their networks, because they're going to still submit all of their contacts through the PR link. Like if they were a rep, they're going to tap into those networks you might not get. And once you're done with, basically, that sounds mean, but like milking the cow, you put them to the sales rep position and you start the cycle all over. So every 2 weeks, I'm hiring new SMRAs to constantly get new people to get me to new networks. So yeah, basically my approach is in Spanish, but we have it in English as well. So if you need some of that paperwork, you can just text me. I put my number in the chat. And I don't know if you want me to go into managing them, Shelby, or
For the sake of time, no, because I want to move into the sales management aspect of things, but I do think it's really important to recognize that the SMRA program is an additional method to tap into your networks other than just a traditional PR method, and then your own ability to do social media jumpstart. So I love this program because it's almost like an additional jumpstart program that you can focus on by hiring SMRAs now. And you don't have to wait for people to go through training to get their PR list and then call their PRs. You've got your SMRAs who have this entire network, who've been in this network for years. And so it's a really great way to begin kind of tapping into those networks before you're waiting for the top sharp kids to come through training. So I really appreciate that, Christina. And anybody who's looking for advice on managing SMRAs, Christina is somebody you can go to. I want to move into sales management, but any other questions you have about recruiting, please put them in the Zoom group chat. The only reason why I stuck on SMRAs was because that was a question that came into the Zoom group chat. If you have other questions about recruiting specifically, I know the panelists that we have on here can absolutely handle these questions, but let's move into sales management. Okay, Taylor, you mentioned the idea of manufacturing real life into Zoom and creating the same experience for people in Zoom, regardless of, not being in person. I think that could actually be, whether people want to acknowledge it or not, it could be a limiting belief that many of us might be holding on to, that's creating this distance between our representatives that doesn't need to exist, in the sense that, many of us as branch managers imagined us running physical offices, and now we're not. And so we might think that the experience we're providing is less than, when in reality, the people that we're providing this experience to don't know any different. So Taylor, take it away. Share with us your thoughts on creating this culture regardless of the fact that we're virtual.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I was getting really bored in the beginning, and I was like, this is not the move. I need to spice it up a little bit. So I started talking to different people, and I actually learned it from a Virginia division. So when I would I went up there and got the opportunity to cross train, and I was just blown away with their culture. And I was like, this is the key. You need culture. So a couple things that I do is like level 12 intensity. Like, you shouldn't ever be like, hey guys, like, welcome to the team meeting. It should be like I literally will get up and I'll start like jumping up and down. Like, I'll like have SMRAs do like movements throughout the office if I invite them here, first of all, and I have SMRAs like in my office, but also like, jumping jacks or just doing active stuff, like 5 minutes. I'll be like, guys, we have low energy. Let's everyone stand up. Let's go. And I just make it fun, play some wild music. I have theme days. So crazy sock day, crazy hat day, jersey day, like things like that, just to make it fun so that they want to show up just like you would be in an office. Other things that I do is I promote every top rep each week gets a lunch on me. Like, not expensive, but in my territory specifically, they actually opened up dining in, but maybe in your territory, you could do something like you get them Uber Eats and you're on Zoom for $20, and they go ballistic for that. Like, everyone's like shooting for that. So every rep gets a top lunch. Always feeding representatives information, like always pouring into them, always giving them belief and affirmations and telling them they can do it, and painting vision. To point on what Vera said is so important. Like, every phone call is manufacturing real life. Have you ever thought about when you get to Dirty 30, you could become an assistant manager? Like, constantly having those conversations to make it real. And then stop buys by customers. Holy crap. That's a big one. And reps and assistant managers and your fellow branch managers and your SMRAs, like having a ton of stop buys all the time, every day. during training, during SMRA training, during SMRA shifts, team meetings, all the time, because they need to know that it's bigger. And the last thing is that don't forget, stories sell. So telling stories constantly of their friends or of people who are doing well or what they can do or what your experience is. And that's always been my keys to making it like real for them. Yeah.
People are literally dying over this customer stop by thing. I think you just broke the internet. I love it.
It's huge.
That is really huge. So one follow-up question for you, Taylor. When it comes to this level 12 energy, where does it start? Does it start in the training? Like, tell us more about that.
Yeah, it actually starts on training confirmation calls. So I will call them, and really actually in the post. So like when you're posting them, like it's very like, so why do you think you should be selected? You know, and then it's like, you know, hey, welcome to the team, just so you know, like, and it starts from there. It builds on training confirmation and letting them know that it's going to be fun. Like, hey, did you know that Mr. Harris is literally going to decapitate a pineapple? Yeah, you're going to see that in real life. This stuff is crazy. You know, and just like going off on how fun the training is going to be. Then in day one PCs, like, hey, today was a long day. Tomorrow is the fun day. We're rocking together for 3 hours before the training. You're going to crush it. If you could drive and you were in the parking lot, you'd be burning rubber in the parking lot. Like just stuff like that, and getting them fired up. And that stems from what you do in the morning and how you eat and how much water you're drinking and all of that stuff. Cause you know, I'm an hour behind. So I get up, all my divisional calls are at like 7 a.m. Champions Club, 7 a.m. So like I gotta, the health stuff is big too for energy.
Yeah, great points, Taylor. Thank you for sharing. I think it's really important to recognize that energy transfers, and how you do anything is how you do everything. So if your post-interview is low energy, that's transferring to your applicants. They haven't accepted the job yet. They haven't showed up for training yet. And so if you're giving them low energy, that's just one more question that they have to answer as to why they should show up. But if you are excited and you are high energy, that's going to transfer over to these applicants and they're going to show up to training. Then you follow that up again in training and you keep this consistent high energy. It's really powerful. So really consider that. And by the way, high energy looks different for everybody. I would never suggest that again, like you'll see so many different personalities in Vector. I'm just gonna try to compare like Brian Hurlman to, I don't know who else, but there's so many different personalities in Vector, and you can find what works for you. But the bottom line is that you've got to bring it. Like you've got to bring it to your people. Otherwise, they're not going to show up. And that's a really big point to make. Vera, let's go over to you and talk about this painting of the vision. How has that created excitement on your team? How has that created buy-in? How has that gotten people to be really excited about going after something bigger?
Yeah, I mean, I think like part of it is just definitely having like the people that, like my team is a little bit older right now, part of it. So like some of them are college like grads, like one of them is. So they were talking about advancement in the interview part when I was interviewing them. And I told them about like the opportunity and like what was possible. And it's like them kind of seeing a future with it and then me just supporting them through it. So I think painting a vision is a lot of questions, like asking them what they want, what do they see out of the opportunity. That's really like, and then just focusing on them, not focusing on the CPO, not focusing on the sales themselves, focusing on what they want to get out of the job. Cool, if that's income, great. How many demos does that take? How many calls does that take? Do you want me to go ahead and push you towards that goal? Do I have your permission to do that? And then holding them accountable to it as well. That's kind of what I've been doing. I think one of the fun parts is like my top reps, they FaceTime me throughout the day and they'll literally just like tell me about their day and what's going on and how they're feeling. And that just creates like a really cool culture as well. Like that's one of my favorite things. And they'll like even FaceTime me during their demos to like ask for deals, which I'm like, hey, that's kind of weird, but I'm all for it. So I guess in terms of like vision, just always always like looking at like what's next and not focusing on the past results, but focusing on future as well. Celebrating past, focusing on future.
Yeah, Vera, thank you for sharing that. I love, there's a couple of good points that people are pointing out in the group chat here about asking for permission. And that gives you leverage. So it's this idea that you're able to then, if someone's not doing what they said they were going to do, you can be like, hey, listen, I understand things come up, but we had this conversation last week and you gave me permission to hold you accountable. And me coming down on you right now is not because I don't like you or because I don't think that you're great. It's because I think you're so great. And we talked about this last week and we agreed this is how it was going to be. And so I'm coming to you from love. Vera?
Yeah, I was also going to add on that, like, if they don't hit their goal, you hold yourself accountable. So it's like, hey, I'm sorry that, like, I didn't hold you accountable to being able to hit your goal, and maybe I did something wrong as your leader. Is there anything I can do to better serve you in the future? But when they do perform well, you give them all the credit. So you really function from, like, that stance of a servant leader.
Yeah, absolutely. Something else I heard today that, Vera, what you were just sharing reminded me of, and it kind of has to do with vision and culture. The idea of always looking forward is really valuable. You mentioned that, Vera. And the idea of like asking what's in it for them or asking them a lot of questions and getting them really excited about what's to come is really powerful. Here's something to consider, guys. Many of your reps, this doesn't really apply to Vera because she's a lot of older reps, but many of your younger reps, your high school seniors, and maybe your college freshmen and sophomores, if they're athletes, they just missed out on an incredible potential season and they still have that competitive edge. And so you as the manager can actually create a tie for them between what they're missing in their senior season of lacrosse, baseball, whatever, and what they could actually have here from a competitive advantage. And so if you can create that vision for them that, hey, you might not have been able to compete with your rival high school on your final lacrosse game of the season, but you can compete nationally here. And I'm telling you, the payoff's going to be a lot bigger than what it would be, in your high school season. So you can use that as leverage now with the people that you're recruiting, because you want athletes on your team to really sell the competition because they're missing that. They missed out on that. The second thing that I want to add that what Vera shared kind of sparked me, and then we're going to go over to Sam to talk about product conviction, and then we'll wrap up here. But it's when you're asking people questions and when you're helping them see what's in it for them. I know this because I've worked with so many branches in the past, but I know that oftentimes branches are afraid that they're not asking the right questions, that they're not doing PDI effectively, that they're not building the vision effectively. And sure, are there ways to improve? Yes. But the thing I want you to remember is that 99.9% of the reps that are coming through your office have never had a manager like you who cares so deeply about them. So just the fact of you showing up for them and asking them, hey, have you considered a goal? That's more than probably any of their managers have ever asked them in the past. So just the basic questions, don't overcomplicate it. Just the basic questions. Hey, have you thought about a sales goal? Have you thought about an income goal? Have you thought about management? Like, what are your thoughts on these things? Like, what would get you really excited? Those questions matter more than you know. You don't have to be like a, John Maxwell or a Trent Booth to do a good, effective PDI call. Just remember that. It's really important. Let's move into this idea of training and really creating a big first weekend pop. Sam, you talked a lot about creating product conviction and getting them excited about the products themselves. Can you touch on that?
Yeah, so something that I noticed was really a big downfall my first week is I had a girl who was seeing these, doctors and these lawyers and these people who could buy 8 complete sets and not bat an eye, right? And she wasn't selling anything. And I talked to Brian about it, and something that he said was, you need to get her a sample kit. You need to get her, to use these knives to understand. Because if she doesn't understand, she will be feeling like she's doing something to her friends and her family. And I noticed with all these reps, Taylor was talking about customer stop-bys is huge. We had a training, and one of the reps who was in the training, her mom owned a complete and just came on with literally 3 knives in hand and was like, everyone, these are the best. It's changed my life. And she was ranting on and on about it. And it was great to hear because you could see all these reps in training going, okay, so this is the real deal. This is, great quality stuff. But, more so than that, if you have product conviction, without product conviction, there is going to be no vision, period. With the company, with advancement, if you don't have product conviction, there's going to be no conviction in the company. There's going to be a lack of conviction in your managers. So that's something that I realized that's been huge. I'm having them go over to their neighbors' houses that have Cutco. I'm having them, their family bring Cutco over to, dinner to, if they had some friends or family coming over. And they used it and they got to use it. In regards to the first week in POP, it's all about getting the reps that are already on your team to start off the week strong. I know someone in the chat box said, what are you saying to your reps to get them excited to sell in the first couple days of the week rather than waiting till the weekend? It's just like Vera and Taylor were talking about, with that vision, you got to get them excited. What I promote is the AM opportunity. That's what I'm looking for. I promote, listen, I'm looking for people that are ready to step up, even before it's time to step up. And just getting a good foundation before that first week in POP, I feel like is huge.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I also want to echo just an idea on helping people stay consistent, the week after their first weekend. We do often see a big spike in sales after we launch our training class. And sure, a lot of it has to do with excitement. It's fresh, it's new, they're seeing their best people first. It's also because you hold their hand while scheduling. I mean, it's like you literally walk them through, hey, here's how you build a schedule. Hey, now we're gonna phone. Hey, focus on these people. And so there's really little room for them to not understand. Do we have reps that don't understand? Yes, of course we do. But you're really limiting their ability to be confused because you're hand holding them through everything. So of course that first weekend is going to be jam-packed because you've showed them how to pack it up and then you've given them the time to actually do that. But you have to still keep doing that for them because if you think about it, they're like babies and like they're just being birthed into the world of Cutco. So yes, you need to take care of them. And when they come back for advanced training, they're not even toddlers yet. They're still like, you need to take care of me. So during advanced training, you should be giving them the time to phone. You should be doing a quick schedule walkthrough so that way they can come off of their hot, big, exciting weekend, go into advanced training, learn some new skills, phone some more, and schedule their next 3 days. And then during team meeting, when maybe they've earned the toddler status, that's when you're like, all right, let's see your schedule. Show me where you're going to add in demos. And then you back it up with phone time for them to actually book those spots. But you can't make the assumption that just because one time they made a schedule and that one time they did a phone jam, they're going to understand how to continuously do this. So their first 10 days on the job are really important that you as the manager are helping them understand how to build a schedule and how to phone and who to phone. So if I were in your shoes, again, they have the training at the end of, they have the training within the training about scheduling and about calling and about phoning. For advanced training, you follow that up again, repeating the same things again. Then they come in for team meeting and you do it again. And then they come in, they come in for a PC and you do it again. And so their first 10 days on the job, they're hearing 4 different times how to build a schedule, how to phone your people, who to phone, and they're understanding that they always back that up with a phone jam. So I think that's also really important to recognize that your reps need to hear things over and over and over again. You as a manager should be repeating yourself. I know oftentimes we're like, don't let me repeat myself, but you should be repeating yourself. And Sam, yes, go ahead, add one more thing.
All I wanted to add was, in regards to almost surviving off of that first weekend, from your fast starters, with that, you have to realize that if you're doing that and you don't have those sustainable representatives that are selling throughout the week who aren't in their fast start, there's going to be a lack of development, which is ultimately going to, be the downfall of why don't you have, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 being inducted into TLA at the end of the summer. And, Shelby, what you were saying about having to repeat yourself, something that I've realized is throughout the course of these past couple weeks is, like, I'm a branch for a reason, right? People are branch managers for a reason. Joseph's a district for a reason. These representatives are not for a reason. And that's something that I struggled with at first. I was like, why am I having to repeat myself twice, 3 times? Like, I said it once, that should be enough. But, something that's really helped me is realizing that not everyone is like us at all. We're vector trained. They have not been yet. And that's probably even more crucial than the points I stated before, is that mindset of, I'm branch for a reason. I'm branch for a reason. It's my job to, exactly, Anna, meet people where they're at. And this is what Brian told me today. You got to meet people where they're at because they don't know how to meet you where you are. So I just wanted to kind of echo off of what you were saying, Shelby.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Thank you for that. All right, guys, we went a little bit over time, but we always do. So I appreciate you all being flexible with this. I'm able to stay on for a couple more minutes. If you have to jump off, go ahead, jump off. Panelists, you are free to go if you have to. I'd like to open it up for any more questions in the group chat or any other comments from our panelists. Alex, did you want to kind of expand on that comment you just made?
You're talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but I don't know if that made sense to people, but I just mean, like, it's important, obviously, to repeat yourself, especially during PDI. Like, you always want to know what to promote, and you're going to have to promote things multiple times, but it's also important, and something like a boundary that I've had to kind of like establish is knowing when, you have to repeat yourself versus energy drainers that are just kind of like asking too much of you. And like, you need to also understand that, they went through a 15-20 hour training, like, and they should have, like, there's certain things that you also can't, like, I don't know how to, like, I'm trying to think of an example, but I think that, like, there's certain things that you kind of have to know, like, okay, this person just isn't paying attention, or they're just not listening to me, or they didn't listen to training. And it's not that you have to come down hard on them. I'm not saying, like, get angry with them, but you have to know the difference between, like, okay, I need to, like, explain to you again, like, how to, I don't know, drop down, or you're, like, asking me for the fifth time how to put an order in, like, things like that. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think that's a good point to make too, Alex. Thank you for sharing that. It's important to spend your energy where you're going to get the return. And Alex, what you're kind of describing is people who just continuously forget PDI and continuously maybe submit base pay, or, like, you can kind of tell when somebody is not taking you seriously, taking this seriously. But if someone's coming to you because, and when I say professional repeater, it's important to recognize it's on training topics and things that they need to learn so that they can actually become sustainable on their own. So things like how to phone on their own, how to make a schedule every week. Because if you have to sit down with them every single week to make a schedule while also maintaining the rest of your new team, it's going to become difficult. So you want to get people to a point where, they could actually teach this to somebody else. Does that mean that they do? No, not always. But you want to repeat yourself enough where the people that you're talking to say to you, all right, Shelby, I got it. You told me this 77 times. I understand. But if there are people who are like, tell me again, like, why do I have to call in for PDI? That's a whole different story. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Any other thoughts, setting boundaries or limitations to what you'll tolerate? Yeah, Carlos, that's echoing that for sure. Vera?
I would say that like at some point, like for me personally, I think accountability is a huge thing because I know like if I say it to someone else that I'm going to do something, I will do it. But if I say it to myself, I won't. So I keep like, I ask my reps like their goals and I keep track of it because I know that they're more likely to do them when they're accountable to me versus just like on their own making it up. So that's something that I've just found.
Yeah, totally. That's a great point. All right, Sam?
I just wanted to say one more thing, Alex. That was such a good point. I feel like that's so important because you only have so much energy to give. And if you're giving it to the same person on the same thing 87 different times, it's going to drain you. So I just wanted to say that was an awesome point.
Mm-hmm.
And can I add something? Like responding to you, Sam? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you. And I think that, I mean, it's easy to say because I'm literally dealing with a rep like that right now. But I think that if people like, you know, if you're the type of leader that people don't want to like disappoint, then like when they are draining you of your energy, like it's easier to kind of like be like more strict because you've already been such a good leader to them and like been trying to serve them. Like you've already established that that's the kind of leader that you are, that it's like, okay, you're choosing to like do this. Like you're choosing to ask me for like how to put an order, or you're telling me like, I don't know, whatever. I'm not going to get into it, but you know what I mean.
Okay, any other thoughts, questions, comments? Joseph, I'm going to throw you on the spot here. Any thoughts, questions, comments?
Just in general, or
Sure,
about
just in general.
We've got a lot of those.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot.
Keep it PG, please.
You said what? Oh, yeah. I mean, no, the joke I was talking about earlier, I'll tell you, that was funny.
You can tell me later, not now.
Yeah, no.
But any thoughts, questions, comments regarding?
Yeah, no, all
Things like that.
these are great. I loved hearing from branches. I was curious to see what a lot of these branches were doing. And one last thing I guess I'll say is, guys, don't compete, don't compare. Don't worry about where you're at right now. When I branched, I did $6,000 my entire first month and a half as a branch. And I got out there mid-April as a branch. And I didn't have my first 20K week until June week 1, right? So, and I did 227 as a branch, right? I took off and finished number 7. So regardless of where you're at, you're exactly where you need to be. Tiger Woods and become Tiger Woods doing the golf club 3 times. You know, a lot of this is your 3rd week on the job, 2nd week as a branch. So don't compare yourself with what other people are doing. Focus on you. Show up for your people. Don't look at the reports if it's just going to stress you out. Like, just give a lot to your people and recruit your, off, and you're going to kick butt.
Thank you, Joseph. Yeah, that's a great point. Don't look at the reports if you know that they're triggering for you. It's okay to not look at the reports. Just focus on the actions. And the actions are what create the results. And like what Joseph said, many of you, this is your 1st, 2nd, 3rd week open. Like nobody is going to be a master right when they first begin. So just remember that. Everyone, thank you so much for jumping on. I'm going to end the recording here.